Musk's rapid ascent and precipitous reputational decline have been a remarkable case study in a few things: the limits of hubris as a leadership style, the pitfalls of corporate mismanagement and unyielding loyalty to one man, the fecklessness of a gridlocked and neutered government and at times scientifically challenged gerontocracy, and the drain and outright rejection of expertise in a corporate environment ruled by the short-term dopamine hit of earnings reports. It also demonstrates the power of a platform to shape the public narrative, to write one's own hagiography, compared to quietly demonstrating competence in a world that can't turn away from its screens. Somehow, the rules of meritocracy don't apply to those who can leverage their fame and fortune well enough. Musk, to be sure, reinvented what it meant to be a CEO in the 21st century. He led Tesla using the bully pulpit, eroding guardrails and cutting through red tape whenever possible, dismantling once and for all the image of the CEO as a faceless corporate suit who didn't believe in anything but profits or was otherwise hamstrung by bureaucracy. There was a time when Musk's approach, unfiltered, authentic, raw, was refreshing. I spoke with the CEO of a rival major automaker who said he envied Musk's power. The pure efficiency of his rule and the autocratic nature of his management made it hard to compete. Musk didn't have to wait for the green light of a board to usher in his most ambitious bets, promising to turn a fleet of 1 million vehicles into self-driving cars, building a futuristic pickup that looked like nothing else, reopening a crowded and chaotic production line during the height of a pandemic, and making a surprise pivot to social media on the strength of those accomplishments and somehow keeping the lights on after firing 75% of the staff. In the process, Musk told powerful government regulators to piss off and influential corporate advertisers to screw themselves. Who wouldn't dream of having that kind of power? At the same time, Musk ruled by intimidation, conducting arbitrary firings, setting spontaneous timelines that demanded his subordinates to deliver on massive goals faster than seemingly possible, leading to perpetual burnout and historic turnover. Soon, so many became all too comfortable with problem-solving approaches that were far from rigorous, blindly following as if Musk's edicts were dogma. The downsides of the approach revealed themselves in quick succession: a trail of disappointed acolytes, philosophical allies who were caught flat-footed by the inconsistency of Musk's positions, investors who grew exhausted by his impulsive behavior, former employees who were lured in by his high-flying promises to change the world and then found themselves on the wrong end of tough business decisions. Past results became an indicator of future success. Wall Street and Silicon Valley investors would follow Musk in walking off a cliff in exchange for a little equity. Case in point, the immense support he rallied to crowdfund his purchase of X, at the time known as Twitter, a struggling social media company that couldn't justify its $44 billion price tag in any world where Musk wasn't involved. By late 2024, prior to the election that likely impacted X's value, the largest of those shareholders were hundreds of millions of dollars underwater on their investments, and some had publicly turned against Musk. The magnitude of the blunder had become apparent, with reports such as one in the Wall Street Journal that declared, "Elon Musk's Twitter takeover is now the worst buyout for banks since the financial crisis." This implosion of Musk's public and business reputation had long been in the making. The question now is, can anyone get through to him before the fallout of his decision-making unleashes even more severe consequences? Is it already too late? Maybe the signs had been apparent all along, for anyone willing to look. In Hubris Maximus, I will make exactly that case, the one that could have served Musk's most ardent backers, Twitter's equity investors, the Morgan Stanley bankers who backed his takeover, now disillusioned believers in his self-driving tech, customers harmed by his false promises, and most of all, the public that was so willing to go along with the aura of Musk, desperately in need of another Steve Jobs, proof of America's place in bringing order to a chaotic and depressing world. I'll answer troubling questions, ones that might be especially uncomfortable for inhabitants of Musk world. What if everyone got taken for a ride? What if Elon Musk wasn't really a genius? Everybody loved Napoleon while he cleaned up the mess of the French Revolution, but when he got to the top, that's when he put his brother in charge and his uncles in charge, and now he picks fights with everybody. And what ended up happening to Napoleon, this is exactly what's happening to Elon. Investor Ross Gerber, once Musk's biggest defender on television, told me. You've got somebody who thinks he's Caesar or thinks he's Napoleon, who thinks he can do no wrong. As I write these lines, car buyers have signaled increasing skepticism of Tesla, the crown jewel of Musk's portfolio that recently recorded its first annual sales decline in more than a decade, surely at least in part because of the damage done by Musk's takeover of Twitter, his relentless and controversial political conjectures, including hardline anti-immigration rhetoric, and his repeated unforced errors that have revealed a kind of selfishness and led to charges of incompetence or worse, that he's a charlatan. Now Musk has bet the company's future on robots, artificial intelligence, and autonomous cars, to skepticism from some key former colleagues, concern from spurned investors, and the ire of one-time fans, while boosters see it as yet another strike of brilliance from an unpredictable genius who cannot afford to sit still and reap the rewards of yesterday's formula for success. On the other hand, it's hard to see how Musk should take away any lessons from the blunders of the recent past, given Tesla's valuation, as of this writing, and in large part due to his astute political maneuvering, has been restored to more than $1 trillion. Musk has even gained a position of influence over the agencies that had previously sought to rein him in. The following chapters will methodically deconstruct the making and mind of that man, the Silicon Valley Caesar, the self-anointed techno-king. This is an audiobook about what should have been predictable from the beginning and details a devastating autopsy of how it was allowed to happen.